Hello, everyone, and thanks for stopping in again today. I'm Doxy Mom, and we are going to be looking at the application process and some interview tips to help you with that new job. Maybe you're just graduating from high school or from college. Maybe you're in a job and you just want to better yourself, find a different career. Well, I hope that this will be very, very informative. And I do just want to say this one thing. If you are in a job and you want to change jobs, then please make sure that you do not quit your job before you find another job. That is so important. It's a mistake a lot of people make. Sometimes people get angry and they walk off their jobs, and that's terrible. That leaves you with a terrible work record, because if you need to get a new job and your new employer wants to call your old employer and they find out that, oh, well, in our busiest time, this person just walked out for no reason, just quit on us, but you hire them if you want to. So it's just very, very important that when you want to find a new job, go out, find a new job, and let your new employer know, hey, I need to give a 2-week notice. I need to work at my last job just to retrain someone or help clear up any loose ends. So that's just so important that you have a good, clean work record moving forward. And sometimes the person who wants to hire you say, I need you right now. I'll just call your employer and see if we can't get you, gone tomorrow. But I just wanted to let you know that. And when you're filling out that application, most applications are online now, and they're pretty self-explanatory. However, don't leave blanks. If something does not apply to you, write in an N, the letter N/A. That means non-applicable. And when you get to that salary block, if you don't know the salary that they're offering, just put in NEG period. That means negotiable. You can negotiate for a salary. Maybe in your second interview. Never bring money up in your first interview. We're getting to that. I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but just make sure you fill out that application and it's properly filled out. You may even want to ask a friend or a neighbor to look over the application and make sure you filled everything out where it's supposed to be. And then a lot of applications today have questionnaires, and you may need some help filling out with some of those questions, because those are very important. The most important thing is honesty. Just be honest. Give an honest answer, because honesty goes a very, very long way in companies. Companies want people who are going to tell them the truth. So there's your application process. Now, this interview process is a little bit more complicated, but the application process gets you in the door. And the first thing that you need to think about is, what are you going to wear to your interview? I wouldn't be showing up in jeans and a t-shirt. You need to at least dress one step above whatever the job requires. So if people are wearing jeans and t-shirts, then put on a pair of maybe khakis and a polo shirt. If the people are wearing business casual clothes, then ladies, put on a dress. Gentlemen, maybe put on a coat and a shirt. May not need the tie, may need the tie. The tie is very professional, so put it on there if you feel like that's going to help you look your best. But you go in and you're representing yourself, so make sure your clothes are clean, make sure they're wrinkle free, and that they are at least one step above what that job requires. And then before you go in that job interview, do a little research. We have internet access. Research the company, because 9 times out of 10, the very last question an interviewer is going to ask you is, do you have any questions? And guys, I know you've been told this your whole life, that, oh, there are no dumb questions. Well, yes, there are dumb questions. So you do not want to ask about money. You do not want to ask about something that was in the job description, unless if you want to ask them to further describe something. But make sure you read that job description. Go and research that company and see if maybe they're getting ready to add on a new department, and ask about that new department, or ask about, are there ways for me to move up in this company? And if so, how do I do that? but make sure it's an educated question, something where the interviewer will go, wow, this person did their homework. And guys, that might get you the job above someone else. You never know. So when you're preparing for that interview, again, make sure you're clean, and you don't want to put on any strong smelling perfume or cologne, because you never know, that person who's interviewing you, they may have a sensitivity to strong smells. You might walk in that interview room and give them an instant headache. Well, guess what? You're not going to get the job. So make sure if you're putting on perfume and cologne that it's just not overwhelming. And then, guys, I'm sure if you have tattoos, you love your tattoos, or you wouldn't have them permanently put on your body. So just because you love your tattoos doesn't mean that everybody's going to love your tattoos. Just to tell you a little personal story, my husband, that's his pet peeve. He does not like tattoos. And he told me a little over 22 years ago, well, when he asked me out a little over 22 years ago, but then later on he told me if I would have had a tattoo that he would have never asked me out. And I'm so glad I didn't have a tattoo, because then we're coming up on our 19th wedding anniversary, and we would have missed out on a lot of good years together. So you just, when that person sits behind that desk, you don't know, maybe they have a thing about piercings. About men. Maybe they don't like men with earrings in. So men, for the interview, take your earrings out. When you get out of the interview, you can put them back in. Facial piercings, eyebrows, or your nose, take these piercings out. You're going in to represent that company, and those piercings may not represent that company. So that will just really help you. And ladies, I don't know if you can see, but my earrings are just small little loops. I would not wear an earring any larger than this size of loop, because that's definitely big enough. You don't want to take away. You don't want to be screaming at look at me, because it's not looking at you. It's looking at the company. How are you going to represent this company? If you have the earrings that go all the way up your earlobes, you might want to remove those as well. And I was a teacher, and things just didn't bother me, but there's one thing that really kind of does bother me, and that's that tongue ring. I find I have a hard time looking a person in the eye. Instead, I'm looking in their mouth, and then I start wondering about, is their tongue swollen? And sometimes I misunderstand their words because that things in there, and I'm looking at that, and I'm not concentrating on what they're talking about. So if you have a tongue ring, please remove it. You can always put it back in once the interview is over. So cover up the tattoos. Be very conservative with your jewelry. Guys, I just wouldn't have any jewelry at all going in. And when you do go in, do not take your cell phone. Most young people, you grew up with technology, and you're constantly looking at that phone. If something dings, you want to look down at it, and you cannot be distracted in that interview. If your phone dings and you even think about looking down at it, probably not going to get that job. So just leave your phone in the car, or if you have to take it in, just make sure you turn it off. That's huge. Turn that phone off so there'll be no distractions when you're in there. Also, take nothing to eat with you, nothing to drink, have no gum in your mouth, and don't take anybody with you, especially a parent. Guys, this is something you have to do. So you go to that job interview, be dressed right, make sure your jewelry's conservative, that you don't smell bad, but that you're not overpowering anyone. And then when you walk in that room, you walk in with confidence, have your shoulders back, and extend your hand for a handshake. And this handshake these two parts of the hand should meet when you are shaking someone's hand. And it needs to be a nice, firm handshake. You don't want to squeeze the person's hand off, but you don't want to do one of these little limp things either, because you're not going to get hired that way. So a nice, firm handshake, and look them straight in the eye. That's very important. That's showing confidence. And then you wait. You wait. The interviewer will tell you where to sit. And then when they say, please have a seat, and you sit down, don't slouch in your chair. This means oh, I really don't want to be here, I really don't care. You need to sit up straight. I wouldn't even put my back against the backrest unless you're going to be in there a really long time. But start out sitting up straight on the edge of your seat, leaning in slightly. This means you are very, very interested in this position. Do not cross your legs. If you have to cross anything, you may cross your ankles, but that's it. And then listen attentively, and if you don't know something, just tell them you just don't know it. And they'll understand that because they're going to appreciate that honesty. Then you need to make sure you know your strengths and weaknesses. They're probably first going to ask you, well, tell me a little bit about yourself. Well, you don't want to go through a whole life history. Well, I was born in 19, blah, 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 and blah. You need to just have something maybe even memorized in your mind. I graduated this year from this school with this GPA. I've worked. This is my experience. Or this is my first job. I have no experience, but I am ready and willing to come in. I want to learn. I'll be a hard worker. I'm very punctual. Punctuality is very important. And so make sure that you just kind of have an idea of what you're going to say, because 9 times out of 10, that first question is, tell me a little bit about yourself. And then make sure if they say, well, what are you good in? What are your strengths? Well, know your strengths. Well, I'm a hard worker. I have a positive attitude. I'm punctual. I'm dependable. I'm responsible. And then make sure if they say, well, what are your weaknesses? Well, I've never done this type of work before, but I'm willing to learn it. And I don't have a lot of patience, but I've really been working on that. So anything that's a weakness, I always say, but I'm trying to get better at that. That will certainly help. And then if you need to do a little role play, maybe with a parent or a friend, sibling, have them ask you questions and role play and even videotape yourself, because you are going to be a little nervous when you go in that interview. There's nothing wrong with that. And the interviewer expects that, but they expect you to be able to stand up under that pressure and answer their questions correctly. And remember, that last question will probably be something, do you have a question for me? And if you can, ask about the company. That's very, very important. So I hope that I have answered your questions and covered everything that you need to know when you're going into that interview. And it never hurts to ask a prayer, ask the Lord to help guide you, to give you the right words, the right information, the right way to dress when you're going in that interview. And if you don't get the job, well, that's God's way of saying He didn't want you in that position. He wants you somewhere else. But always just try to keep a good positive attitude. And right now is a wonderful time to get a job because, I mean, our economy is booming. Things are good. Now, politically, things are going to get a little bumpy. There's going to be maybe some arrest of some people that you just wouldn't have imagined. Don't worry, guys. Just don't worry. Everything's going to turn out just fine. And if you're a college student graduating from college right now, this is a great time to be doing that because there are tons of jobs out there. So you just have that confidence. You don't want to be overconfident, but follow some of the guidelines that I laid out, and you go in and you get that job. So until next time, everybody, good luck and God bless.